Her Majesty's armed forces are now at war with ISIS militants in Syria. But another war has been raging in the run-up to the vote, and that's the one inside Her Majesty's official opposition. Labour MPs who backed airstrikes came under pressure on social media in the run-up to the vote. And some were sent graphic images, which included dead children. They have also been threatened with deselection. That means they would no longer be the Labour Party candidate in their constituency at the next election. And anti-war demonstrators protested in the constituency of Stella Creasy, the Labour MP for Walthamstow in North London. And on Twitter this morning, left-wingers are calling on the 66 Labour MPs who backed military action to be deselected. Well, we're joined now by Nancy Taaffe, a member of Waltham Forest for Corbyn, who is active in Stella Creasy's constituency. Welcome to the Daily Politics. You would like to see Stella Creasy deselected, is that right?
Yes, I would. I'm a member of the Socialist Party and I am active in Waltham Forest for Corbyn. And one of the things that we're arguing for is Stella has called a meeting this weekend in her constituency, and we will be putting a motion to that meeting calling for her reselection, calling for her resignation, for a vote of no confidence because of her role in voting for this war. We believe that the majority of residents in Waltham Forest are opposed to her actions, and it's an absolute disgrace that she called a meeting before this vote where the constituents were urged to turn up and to express their opinions. They did so. She took a photograph, she tweeted it out and said the majority of people, I think it was unanimous, of the people in the meeting did not support airstrikes on Syria, and yet she went ahead and voted for them.
And are you working with the Labour Party locally on this attempt to have her deselected? You say she's holding this meeting on Sunday. Are you working with Labour Party members?
Well, I can't speak for the Labour Party in Walthamstow. I'm a member of the Socialist Party.
Right.
But within the community in Walthamstow, amongst activists in and outside the Labour Party, there's been a huge swell of sentiment against this war, which was expressed in a local demonstration which went from outside a local mosque, and lots of lies are being told about that demonstration. That was of families with candles and jam jars, and we marched from the local mosque up to the Labour Party offices, and one of the chants was, what do we want? Peace.
Right.
When do we want it? Now.
What evidence, though, do you have that those people who, as you say, are very anti-war or airstrikes, that they want to get rid of Stella Creasy as their MP?
Well, you just have to look at what's happening on social media with many people who say they voted for Stella Creasy, people who said they went out and campaigned for Stella Creasy. I mean, I stood against Stella Creasy as a socialist and as a member of Tusk. But there are people there who genuinely believed that Stella Creasy was anti-war, because she always said that she was anti-war, genuinely believed that she stood as a socialist, and are incredulous.
On that basis, on that one issue, very important issue, you think all those people would now like to see her deselected?
Well, what we are saying in the Socialist Party, we will be putting this motion to this public meeting. We will take this motion throughout the constituency of Walthamstow, and we urge other Labour Party members in wards to take this motion or similar motions up to demand mandatory reselection. For Corbyn to call a conference, they called a conference to change the rules over Collins. They did it over a weekend. I was outside. We could easily have a conference to make mandatory reselection the heart of the new Labour project, if you like, the Corbyn project, to make this a democratic party, to readmit people like myself back into the Labour Party, so we have a genuine anti-austerity and anti-war party.
Right, Nancy, stay with us. Here in the studio now is the Labour MP John Mann and Shelley Asquith, who is an interim director of the pro-Corbyn pressure group Momentum. Welcome to both of you. John Mann, does Nancy Taaffe have the right to try and use the democratic processes that are available to her to try and deselect the Labour MP Stella Creasy?
Well, she stood against the Labour Party. She got a pitiful vote, and she's part of the militant tendency. And we don't want them in the Labour Party. They've nothing to do with the Labour Party. And her language kind of shows the obscure nature of these Trotskyist sects who talk to themselves all the time, but claim to talk on behalf of the people.
Right. I mean, Nancy Taaffe, what do you say to that?
Well, I wish that John Mann would engage in political debate rather than slurs. It would be easy for me to say he's a member of the millionaire tendency, that he represents the past, a rump that existed around Blair, and the new Corbynistas who came in their thousands to support Corbyn's anti-war message over the summer represent the future. What is happening inside Walthamstow Labour Party and in the general community is a warning to people like John Mann, who are sitting comfortable on their nice MP salaries, who march into the chamber, vote for war, and then accuse all those good anti-war activists outside of being irrelevant.
We'll come back to John Mann, who didn't actually vote for airstrikes. I think that was right.
That shows this Trotsky's nonsense. You can't even work out who voted what way. And what they're doing to Stella Creasy, it is outrageous. These are the bully boy tactics, and we had them from the militant tendency before. I remember Peter Taaffe, your namesake. Don't know if he's a relative. He was a nasty piece of work at the time, infiltrated the Labour Party. I was there in the middle of it. I saw their bully boy tactics, trying to pick on people, abuse people, break up meetings. We had that in the late 70s and the 80s, and the militant tendency were in the middle of it. If that comes back into the Labour Party is dead and buried as a credible force in this country.
Can I come back on that? Because that's
just very briefly, because I want to go to Shelley Asquith.
That is an insult to all good socialists in the Labour Party who fought Blair. Don't forget, the legacy of Blair is being played out in the politics of John Mann. These are the people who hijacked the Labour Party, and he can make all the personal slurs that he wants, but he represents the old Blairite right, and we need to get rid of MPs like
let
him.
me bring in Shelley Asquith, because Nancy Taaffe isn't a member of the Labour Party. She's appealing to Labour Party members perhaps like you. Is this what you want to see in the Labour Party, this sort of squabbling argument, which is quite brutal?
Well, of course not. We want to see democracy and discussion and debate that's really healthy. And I think I'll start by saying that, of course, abuse thrown at anyone, either side, is totally unacceptable and can't be tolerated. And if it's from Labour members, should be investigated by the NEC. But I think that's a small minority of people who have been vocal about Labour not supporting the war. I think there are lots of people who've been protesting peacefully and are holding people to account. And that should be respected and listened to as well.
And you say the abuse should stop and that it's not acceptable, should be investigated by the NEC if there are concrete examples. I mean, let's look at some of the tactics that have been used and deployed. John Mann has said some of it's been disgraceful. Tweeting MPs with pictures of dead children, is that an acceptable way to make a political point?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and say what's acceptable and what's not. If it's illegal abuse, then it should be reported, and if it's coming from Labour Party members, it should be reported as well. I think things like marching outside a constituency office, as somebody who's worked in a constituency office and who's joined in demonstrations, I think is legitimate. But it's about how that's conducted, and I think people need to be aware that this is an issue that gets people very, very emotive, and people are going to want to hold their MPs to account, and they should kind of respond to their constituents and supporters.
There is a difference, isn't there, between tweeting the examples of dead women and children for people who voted for airstrikes and people legitimately protesting outside the homes or offices of MPs. What's wrong with that?
Well, there's a coordinated, organised attempt to bully people. So the amount of stuff I get, I was still getting abuse this week. I won't use the language because it's highly inappropriate.
Yes, for daytime television, please.
Well, for any television, to be honest. But there isn't a word I haven't been called, and that's just in the last week. Now, as it happens, I totally disagreed with David Cameron. I was part of creating the amendment that was put forward by Graham Allen and others. So, but nevertheless, I still got the abuse. But those such as, I mean, what's been done, for example, to Stella Creasy, to Mike Gapes, this isn't socialist, democratic, progressive politics. This is the mob, and I think what Jeremy Corbyn needs to do is he needs to remove these people from the Labour Party, because we don't want them, we don't need them. And if Momentum are agreeing with that, I think they could join in, because I've noted what they've been saying in Nottingham, in Rotherham, in Lincolnshire, to me.
Right.
That's from Momentum.
Shelley, are you part of that bully boy? Are you part of that bully boy tactic? Hang on, Nancy, I will come back to you, but Shelley, are you part of those bully boy tactics?
No, of course not. I'm not involved in bullying anyone. I emailed my MP like lots of different people did, asking
so they're not
for an answer.
They're not all doing that, are they?
No, I think
of course they're not.
I think Twitter is a massive echo chamber as well, and I think a lot of it's being overstated. Of course, it's unacceptable, but most people just want answers, just want to hold their MPs to account.
Right. I mean, should MPs do what their local parties tell them to do, or should they use their own judgment? If they were elected, like Stella Creasy, she got 28,779 votes, compared to Nancy, in this particular case, who got 394. But Nancy says she made a mistake, Stella Creasy, voting for airstrikes. So should MPs do whatever their local parties tell them to do?
No, I think they need to listen to the wider constituency. Of course they do. And you know, she has got a mandate, but I think, you've got to balance what you think is right and what your constituency is telling you. And it does sound like there was meetings in the constituency where she was told to vote a certain way. I mean, she came to her own decision in the end, but you've got to have that balance and you've got to listen to the electorate. Right,
but would you like to see people like her deselected if they are not, in your mind, reflecting the views of the majority of Labour Party members in their constituencies?
No, I don't think that's the answer. And I know John and Jeremy have come out and said there won't be deselections. And I think the process by doing that is hugely bureaucratic, and I don't see that's going to be happening. But there does need to be some level of accountability, and I think that's what we're going to see from the membership and from the wider electorate.
Would you like to invite Nancy Taaffe? She said she would like to come back into the Labour Party. Would you like to see that happen?
Well, I think if people are, and let's be like clear here, the Socialist Party is a rival party to the Labour Party. It sends people against us. So currently, that's obviously not the way that the party runs. But
if she wants to come back, would you welcome her in if she wants to join?
Well, it comes under certain rules and regulations, I suppose. So I don't know. I can't make a judgment on an individual.
But you do agree with her on her views, or the way she's presented them, certainly towards the war.
We definitely agree on airstrikes in
Nancy,
Syria. Yeah,
yes,
but
Nancy, sorry, you've been sitting listening patiently. Yes, you.
Yes. Well, firstly, Stella Creasy is a member of the Cooperative Party and the Labour Party. She has a dual membership. The Labour Party was born out of a federal structure. There is no reason why I can't be a member of the Socialist Party and the Labour Party underneath a federal structure. We've heard John Mann talking about expulsions and suspensions. There is no more a bullying tactic than that. We oppose all personal slurs, all bullying tactics, but we are struggling for democratic accountability within the Labour Party.
All right.
Corbyn himself has said we have to wait 3 years. If Stella calls a meeting and then absorbs all the anger and thinks no one can touch her, no one can deselect her, then she will betray the members in Walthamstow again and again.
Thank you very much, and thank you to both of you.